Good morning, good people, brothers, sisters, and beautifully defiant siblings in the movement. Welcome to the unapologetic voice of labor, equity, and action. This is CWA Our Power radio show, where we amplify the organizers, uplift the everyday workers, and honor the giants whose shoulders we stand on right here on KYOK 1140 AM and 106.5 FM in the heart of Houston, Texas. If you're rolling through H-Town or just fired up anywhere in the world, stream us live at kyokradio.org on the CWA Strong app or catch the replay anytime by searching CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Because this space, this time, it's about us. That's right, it's about us. We're talking union contracts, organizing victories, labor rights, human dignity, fair pay, and bold everyday resistance to injustice in every form. So whether you're on the job, in your car, at your kitchen table, or deep in the fight, lean in, honk your horns if you stand with workers, throw a fist up if you know your worth. Joining me today are the fire starters and truth tellers, Mikeya Jones, Sir Reginald Small, Timmia Wiley, and David Marshall. So buckle up, beloveds, because the power we build together, the power is ours. Let's get into it. Our union voices are ringing in every district from Alaska to Maine, Texas to Minnesota, Canada to Puerto Rico, because we don't play at CWA. Our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have a victory. That's right, they have a victory. After 3 years of strike, Post-Gazette workers have won. The U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals has ordered the Post-Gazette to restore workers' rights, return their health care, and compensate employees for years of illegal union busting. CWA President Mr. Clark Cummings Jr. said, "Let this be a lesson to every boss who thinks they can starve workers into submission. When we fight together, we win together." For over 3 years, strikers published the Pittsburgh Union Progress, kept the truth alive, and stood strong with support from union members and the community, raising over $1 million to sustain their families. This win is only possible because supporters stood with them, stood with us, walking picket lines, calling out bad bosses, and donating to keep food on the table. We fought for our community, and that's you. We're asking that you help finish strong and cover bills and piled up during the strike. Donations go directly to striking families for essentials like rent, groceries, and emergencies. Donations are still being accepted at cwa.org/ppg-donate. When we fight together, we win together. Today, we're spotlighting someone you might not immediately think of when you hear human rights activists. The name is John Kelce, former NFL center for the Philadelphia Eagles, now retired from the field, but stepping into a bigger arena in many ways. Kelce grew up in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, then starred at the University of Cincinnati before long years in the NFL. His athletic achievements are well known. What's less obvious, but equally important, is how he's leveraged that platform to speak about things like mental health, community investment, and the responsibilities of athletes beyond the game. In September 2023, Kelce openly admitted his concerns about his brain health, the risk of CTE, and how the body and mind change after years of impact and collision. He said he feared that he might not be able to play with his grandkids one day. That kind of honesty from a professional athlete, it's rare. It shows vulnerability. It shows leadership beyond touchdowns. He and his wife, Kylie, and their 4 daughters have also worked through the medium of the football community to raise awareness for autism, for youth development, for inclusion. The Eagles' office official site noted Kelce's lasting impact on the community. So why is John Kelce an unlikely activist? Because when you think of activists, you might picture protest signs, megaphones, rallies, but Kelce's tool has been the locker room, the microphone after the game, the podcast table he co-hosts New Heights with his brother Travis. He speaks to a wide audience, many of whom never engage in traditional activism. By doing so, he brings discussions about athlete mental health, community obligation, and social responsibility in unexpected spaces. His platform, addressing health and safety of athletes, using his public status to spotlight community needs, engaging in honest conversations about identity, transition, and purpose after sport. And there's a strong labor and rights connection here for us in the union world. Think about it. The body of an athlete is a workplace, repeated injuries, long hours, expectations, public scrutiny. Jason Kelce's introspection about the toll of his job mirrors the concerns many workers face: physical, mental, economic, and transitional. When Kelce says he's worried about playing with his grandkids, what he's really saying is, what happens when the job ends? Who advocates for the worker for the helmet when the helmet comes off or after the helmet comes off? That's a human rights question. That's a labor rights question. And when he supports autism initiatives, youth sports access, and community service, he's showing that folks with influence can choose to invest in the rights and well-being of others. So today we honor Jason Kelce, the athlete who didn't just leave the field, but brought the field into the conversation about rights, recognition, aging, transition, and responsibility. His journey tells us activism doesn't always come from the expected corners. Sometimes it comes when a public figure says, I'm part of this too. I'm concerned. I'm responsible. If you're listening, take this as a nudge. Your job, your shift, your work may seem unrelated to civil or human rights, but the fact is, rights live where we work. Where we live, how we recover, how we stand up. Jason Kelce reminds us of that. And that's today's Human Rights Highlight on the CWA Hour Power Radio Show, because every moment, every movement includes those who step beyond expectation. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Amazon Music. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at CWA National Human Rights to stay connected, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. It's time for the Marshall Minute with David Marshall. Each week, he'll break down a hot topic that connects life, health, and the labor movement. Because when we live better, we fight stronger. So let's lean in and listen close. Here's David Marshall with the Marshall Minute.
Good morning, family, and welcome to the Marshall Minute, where you get hot topics of the week every week on the CWA Hour of Power radio show. And today, I'd like to start off with a phrase I'm sure you've said or heard at some point in your life, especially the young people. You have your whole life ahead of you. Now, I know I'm guilty of saying it, but when is it a good time to tell someone you have your whole life behind you? I mean, that could sound mean or uncaring to tell someone that. But at my age now, I have to be real with myself. I have more days behind me than I have ahead of me, and it would behoove me to take advantage of the now. And that, folks, is today's topic: taking advantage of the now. Taking advantage of the now means recognizing that the present moment is the only time you actually have the power to act. It involves shifting your focus away from past regrets, future anxieties, and fully engaging with the present situation. So here's some ways you can practically apply this idea. First thing, practice mindful awareness. Be present. Focus on your current surroundings, the sensations going on in your body, and your immediate task. If you're talking to someone, pause and really listen to them rather than thinking about your response or thinking about something else entirely. And notice the small things. Pay attention to the details you usually overlook. Stuff like the taste of your coffee, or the feeling of the sun when you walk outside, or the sounds that are all around you. All of these details capture the essence of that moment. This makes ordinary moments more meaningful. Number 2, take action on what you can control. Stop procrastinating. Instead of putting off tasks, start them now. Break large goals into small intermediate actions and do the very first thing right away. And if you do this and stay consistent, large tasks over time become small tasks that eventually become completed tasks. And remember to make decisions. Don't delay choices out of fear. Acknowledge the current situation, weigh your options, and decide, understanding that you can always adjust it later if need be. Number three, let go of past and future. Release past regrets. Acknowledge that past mistakes are simply learning experiences, but don't dwell on them. You can't change what has already happened. No one can. So shake off mistakes and continue to put one foot in front of the other and make the best choices you can every day. But also try to manage anxiety. Plan for the future, but do not worry excessively about what might happen. Focus your energy on current preparedness and action so you can control what you can control while putting your energy into a plan of action with controllable aspects. Because even small steps will build confidence and give you more sense of control. And number four, embrace opportunities. Seize the moment. When an opportunity arises, don't overthink it to the point of inaction. Use the now to take a calculated risk or try something new. It's ultimately about making the most of your life and living it to its full potential rather than existing or letting time pass you by. But also express yourself. Don't wait for the perfect time to say, I love you, or apologize, or have a difficult situation. The present is the only time you can get to connect with others this way. So, in closing, no matter if you have your whole life ahead of you or most of it behind you, embracing the now will help you move from passively observing life to actively participating in it. And this has been David Marshall, and you've been tuned into the Marshall Minute, where living well is the greatest act of love.
You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the listen live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Amazon Music. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at CWA National Human Rights to stay connected, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. Up next, we'll have Mikeya Jones with the Hidden Harm of Microaggressions, Bias, and Stereotypes. Good morning, Mikeya.
Good morning, Errol. Good morning, fam. Welcome to another edition of Our Power Radio Show, where truth, justice, and solidarity meet real conversation. So today we're going to dive into a topic that might make some folks uncomfortable, but comfort never changed the world, so we're going to talk about it. And the issue or the topic today is microaggressions. Those really small, often unspoken slights or comments that can cut deep and divide people without us even realizing it, or some of us do, because we get into it. Before we get into it, I want to be clear. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness, okay? And if we're serious, it's more so about unity. If we truly believe that solidarity starts with respect, then we have to talk about the ways disrespect hides in plain sight in our workplaces, our communities, and even within our own cultures.
That is so very true. People sometimes think microaggressions are no big deal, but they really do build up. It's in those moments when someone says, "Oh, you're so articulate." Like that's a surprise.
Mm.
I was not supposed to be articulate. Or when someone jokes, "You don't act gay," as if there's only one way to be gay, to act gay. Or when folks say, "I don't see color," as if pretending color difference doesn't exist somehow equals equality.
Let me tell you
And
something right there. I gotta stop you. That I don't see color one. Timmia knows that I don't see color one burns
Yes.
me up because
Mm-hmm.
that means you don't see me. Like, so I'm just a
Mm-hmm.
blank
Exactly.
slate. Like you just like I've never understood, and people just love that one. And again, this
Mhm.
isn't a blame thing, but people just ate that one right up like it's supposed to be this whole like great thing. Like, oh, I don't
That's
see color.
it.
That's the same thing to me as saying like, oh, I have black friends.
That's it. No, the one that burns me up is, oh, you're pretty for a black girl. Well, what does that mean?
Okay. Or a dark skinned girl. Let's go even further.
Th- th- Talk about it. We could
And,
go on and
and
on with that.
Okay.
and before Reginald jumps in there, because he's already hot, I saw it. He's jumped off mute. He's ready. But we also have to tell the truth. Sometimes, guys, it comes from people who look like each other, who look like us as well. So these microaggressions happen within cultures, not just between them. Go ahead, Reginald.
Well, some of that stuff I've actually not heard Mikeya before, but I guess that would kind of rub me just a little bit wrong. But it's not just within any singular community. We see it across the board, actually. Comments like some folks don't have rhythm, or other communities are better at math, or some of us are always late. Now, you talking about one that rubs me wrong. You tell me something about, you looking at me when I come in the door because you got here 30 minutes earlier because your daddy told you that you needed to be early to be on time. My daddy told me it's not about what time you get there, it's what you do when you get there. So all of that, I get that irritation. So here's the real danger of it all. Those biases don't just stay as words. They influence how people actually justify and actually inflict harm on others. So we see it when folks say certain people don't deserve help, like someone who's undocumented or someone relying on food stamps or the SNAP program as we know it now, or anyone who doesn't fit the mainstream mold. And who decides what the mainstream mold is a whole nother question, but I think that's a show for another day. So no group actually gets a free pass on disrespect. If we want real solidarity, true, real, basic solidarity, it has to be respect for all cultures and in all cultures. And it has to start with us.
And that's the truth. And sometimes those jokes that get passed down like bad habits, we repeat what we've heard, we laugh just to fit in, or we brush it off to keep the peace. But what we're really doing is normalizing disrespect, and we have to stop that. We can't just call out racism or bias when it comes from outside. We got to clean up our own houses too. And that means speaking up when the joke, the tone, or the comment crosses the line, even when it's our own family, our own crew, our own friends, our own people saying it.
Absolutely. Okay. Because listen, it's so important because like sometimes when you bring up microaggressions, right, people get like defensive, like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, or you're being too sensitive. But here's the thing. Intent doesn't erase impact, right? It like a lot of people
Mm,
always say, like, it's not always what you say, it's how you say it, or when you say it, or
mm-hmm.
where you say it, or what was behind what you were trying to say. And if I step on your foot and my intent doesn't stop me from hurting you, right? Like the action itself caused pain in any capacity. And that's just where we are right now. And the respectful response after stepping on somebody's foot is to say, you know what, I didn't mean to. It's not to say, well, I didn't mean to. It's to say, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it. Let me be more careful. And bias plays a big role here. When we rely on stereotypes about race, gender, sexual orientation, immigration status, whatever, or classism, we make assumptions that justify harm, like you all mentioned before. And that's why some people use the word woke as an insult now, right? Like
Oh my
woke,
goodness.
like woke really meant to just be aware of politics and what's really happening in the world. Like that was the true intent for it. Now, all of a sudden, it's like if you say anything against a certain side, and we're not going to really go too deep in there, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're being woke. And it's like, no, you just need to be aware of politics and what's going on in this world that we all contribute to and that we're all impacted by. And standing up for someone else's dignity like isn't a threat. It's solidarity. So I just can't stand it. And for me, when you think about we like to play around and call them strikes against you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm young, right? So people say like young people don't have like wisdom, or they don't really have they don't really know what's going on, or and then I'm a woman and I'm a black
Did you see
woman
your
and I
friend
live in
over
the
there,
South.
Mikeya?
I did. He rolled his eyes, and that was a
Uh-huh.
microaggression right there in plain sight. I can't
Yes,
wait till
right
we
there,
upload this
plain
because
sight.
that was crazy. And so we don't even realize it. And this is exactly why the Human Rights Department has trainings about biases, because it's so important to identify them within ourselves. Correct? Right, Reginald?
You're absolutely right. Mikeya, I actually facetiously rolled my eyes. I did very dramatically. But I want to go back to something that you said, certain things, and I said it, Timmia said it, that things that, irritate us, or that, what do you call it, burns your biscuits. How do we create a safe space that we educate people instead of going off on them? Because if they say that, oh, you're pretty, Timmia, I think you said for a Black girl. So how do you stop that? Because someone, I believe, tried to give a compliment that was insulting, true enough, but how do we educate them without, blessing them out? How do we fix that so that they won't make that mistake the next time? How do we create that space?
Well,
how do we turn that
are
around
you
to
are you asking
educational
her
moment?
specifically?
I'm
Or
asking anybody on the show who the
We're gonna have to. You,
I mean,
you
it's
have to.
This-
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. People gonna have to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to just tell them. You don't have to roll your neck, and smack your teeth. Exactly. You ain't got to do one of these. But
I,
you can. But you're just gonna have to tell people in the most polite way that you know how. And if they get offended, they get offended because they offended you when they open their mouth.
I don't think that was a microaggression by Reginald. I think that was aggression right there by Reginald when
That was a
that
mega aggression. A mega
yes,
aggression.
it was
You
something. But I think we all have to take the opportunity to are we going to just jump on someone because they're saying something, or are we
don't.
going to identify it as a teaching moment?
It is
no,
a
time
teaching
out, flag
moment.
on the play, flag on the play. Even that language right there, right? Why is it that you can say to me and perpetuate this idea and this culture, right? That for some reason, based on Eurocentric standards, that Black women aren't pretty, so I have to be the exception, right? So why wouldn't you say that, right? It's okay. But if I say something back, it's considered jumping on you. You know what I mean? Even that rhetoric in itself means that I'm being defensive or I'm doing, and it's not. At the end of the day, right? One, it should not be my duty to educate you on something that should just be as simple as basic human rights and respect. However, because of this world that we live in, it has become my duty. And so if I'm the one that has to go around educating you after being disrespected, it should not automatically be seen as me being defensive or now aggressive or another microaggression, angry Black woman,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, you painted this picture,
Hmm.
right, of me or what I should do or what I should look like or how people should look. And at the end of the day, when I grab the brush to show you that everybody's beautiful or this can fit everybody, it's not me being aggressive or defensive. It's me enlightening you, right?
Well, come
So
on,
you should
Mr.
just
Implicit
accept this
Bias.
enlightenment.
Well,
Okay.
Exactly.
I was just thinking, and probably some of those examples are true insults and meant to be that. But there are some people who actually, I believe, and from the work that we've done in training classes and so forth, there are people who are coming from a place of ignorance. And I'm saying that an ignorance for lack of knowledge. At what point do we share that knowledge with people? Because I try in my life to extend grace to people. I assume good intentions until you show me otherwise. And I would like to take some moments as teachable moments so that you don't make that mistake again. Now, I believe we have this innate ability to know when people are coming from just a place of I'm attacking you, and that's a whole nother matter. But
Right, right.
when there's this ignorance for lack of knowledge, because I don't want nobody to say I'm calling nobody ignorant. I'm talking about ignorance for lack of knowledge. And I just think the divide gets bigger when we don't take the time to try to educate you on why that's insulting. Because obviously, if you walked up to me, you didn't know it was something that you shouldn't have said, because I hope you wouldn't have said it had you known otherwise. That's
well,
just food for thought.
and, and,
Absolutely. And
and
but and however, no, and you're absolutely right. And I shouldn't say but and however, but I think that I think that we have to come out of our comfort zones and just start saying in a nice way how we feel, how somebody made us feel, let them know. because once you educate somebody, then they will stop saying it and make them think, and then maybe they can educate someone else that, that's not the proper way to say something. Or they might mention it to a friend. I told Timmia she was pretty for a black girl, and that was insulting to her. And it can go from there. Because we have to start verbalizing how people how that sounds, because it's not fair for us to have to carry that burden of being let down by a friend or somebody, or a backhanded compliment.
Boom, there you go. Backhanded compliment. At the end of the day, for me, and this is just me personally, at the end of the day, again, in order for, in my small, humble opinion, in order for us to rectify these things, we have to get rid of what people consider the standard. If people did not live in this world with this hierarchy, right, of what and who some people are compared to others, then the others wouldn't have to deal with these backhanded compliments. If society didn't deem certain things above other things or other people, if we didn't have capitalist society that we lived in, then others wouldn't have to educate what people consider the norm or the standard on something that they shouldn't say. At the end of the day, for the most part, when you think about microaggressions, they're never said to the majority, right? The microaggressions always come from the majority based on what they feel like what they idealize and what they feel like the standard should be. And at the end of the day, for me, until we dismantle the standard and we get rid of that ideology, we're going to continue to be here because at this point we have to educate them on everything, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I and
Mm-hmm.
there's just not enough time in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Like we just need to dismantle the standard and accept the world for what it really looks like, not for what they want it to look like or what they feel like it should look like.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead,
But I,
David.
I don't
well,
think that I don't think that ever, and I apologize, David, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead. I finish your thought.
I don't think that ever, as activists, I don't think that ever ends. I mean, there is no, you can't go back to the beginning to restructure the foundation. So it's a constant thing that we're constantly trying to educate. And of course, as certain things that have come through with, where these microaggressions are becoming bolder and they're coming from the top, it's harder to fight, but we never stop. I mean, we're constantly fighting for dignity and respect. It's just what we do as activists, and I don't think that's ever going to stop. You will constantly have a fight on your hands. I mean, I could name 10 things that we could go out today and hold a sign up and try to fight, but it never stops.
And it boils down. We gotta hold everybody accountable, even ourselves, because the accountability, it goes both ways. When we're the ones that cause harm, even if it's unintentionally, we got to own it and learn from it. And when we're the ones who receive harm, we do got to try to be compassionate and try to educate folks, because we don't owe anyone patience, but teaching is a part of the transformation. And you can't build solidarity if we're afraid to tell each other the truth. So
You're absolutely correct.
yeah. So
Yeah,
you're gonna have
you're
to
absolutely
yeah.
correct. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
I was
just
just saying,
agreeing with you this
we
morning.
just got to make sure that we call it out when we see it, stand on it, and then be amenable to work on ourselves, because I'm sure I have plenty of shortcomings myself that I need to work on, and so we got to always be learning and striving to be better.
Yeah, and the truth is, the small comments can have big effects as well. And silence doesn't just hurt the person; it hurts the movement. Every voice that gets quiet out of frustration or exhaustion is a voice that we lose in the fight for justice.
And of course, we got to understand how these things actually intersect. A comment about race can mix with gender bias, sexuality assumptions, or even nowadays immigration status. For example,
Hmm.
saying something like "you're too emotional to lead," well, that probably targets women, especially women of color. Or "you don't look trans." Well, that invalidates someone's identity. And we know trans now is I mean, it's such a sensitive topic now that people don't even want to deal with the implications of what has actually happened in the trans community. Or telling someone undocumented that they don't deserve assistance. their kids don't deserve to eat, or they don't deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. That's a reality of where we are right now. So if we don't check these things, and I guess that's back to, I'm gonna have to own that Mikeya is right, I guess, that if we don't actually check these things, we replicate the same systems we actually claim to fight against. Mikeya.
I just feel like I'm so glad that this is being recorded because I might make myself a little certificate or a little
Listen.
Reginald's head on it that says Mikeya was right. And
Listen, we might need to sip some champagne to that one.
And you know what? I think this is where the union piece comes in, because mutual respect isn't just a slogan, right? It's like a value that keeps us all safe, strong, united. And our CWA mutual respect policy says every member deserves to work and organize in an environment free from discrimination, harassment, or hostility. And that includes the words we speak, the jokes we tell, and the culture we create. Because respect isn't just about how we act on the clock. It's about how we treat each other in meetings and group chats and in conversations like this. And it's about integrity, because it's about how you talk about me when I'm not even in the room.
And how you feel about me when I'm not in the room.
What is that Timmia drinking over there?
Oh, a protein shake. Y'all know I'm working on something over here.
I was wondering, did you start early? But let me say this, because the workplace is often where a lot of these things show up, and you have to check the supervisor, because sometimes the supervisor might say you're intimidating when you speak up.
That is so true, Errol. Now you just spoke a word.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or you might look at our Asian colleagues and say, where are you really from? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things are just everyday examples, and they add up, and they affect a person's morale. It affects the trust, and it even affects mental health. And that connects back to biases on how we treat someone. And it isn't just personal, it can become structural. When words and stereotypes justify denying people food, come on, fair pay, come on, or care, that's where harm becomes real.
Time out. Like, and I just, sorry.
Go ahead.
But because he keeps saying denying people food and stuff like that, and that's really burning my biscuits, because the whole point, right, of these programs, right, are supposed to be safety nets for people who qualify for them, or people who are in need, right? So if you are not in need, who are you to tell somebody else that they still shouldn't have it? Like, I beg your pardon.
Can I be transparent? There was a time when I was on food stamps. I had a college degree and I had a husband. Both of us were laid off of our jobs at the same time. Exactly. And they act like people who are on food stamps are just welfare queens all the way across the board. That was a safety net for my husband and I to get back on our feet when we were both laid off during the what was that? It was like 2008 when we were in a recession. But I saw people on Facebook. I saw somebody on Facebook complaining that somebody had their nails done, and heaven forbid, they used the food stamp card.
That's that old 1980s political stereotype that was intentionally put forth. Welfare queens. And yes, they were driving souped up cars and elaborate hairdos, and they were having babies to live off of a system. I mean, go figure that out. But nonetheless, it was by design, and that stereotype still exists today. And this is bigger than food. This is about people in power deciding what people of a socioeconomic status, what they deserve or don't deserve.
And the 1%ers are not feeling the hike in groceries and gas and electrical bills and stuff. They're not feeling that.
But I just feel like the 1%ers are the ones that receive the most assistance.
They are the welfare queens and kings. They are the welfare kings and queens.
They get all the tax cuts and all of that stuff. Yes. So I mean, they get all the bailouts because they're too big to fail. And so why is it a safety net only negative when it applies to somebody that doesn't look like you or doesn't have the same amount of money as you? Like, what, it's a safety net. Like, I thought everybody wanted to be safe, right? When you get on the airplane, they don't have certain air masks and stuff like that for certain people, right? They're all the same. Like, they're there to protect everyone equally because we all need the same things. We all have the same basic needs as human beings. So why is it derogatory or negative when you use safety for, I'm going to just stop because we're
I
going we're
tell
going
you
to just go right on off.
what we don't all have is compassion for humanity. Now,
Mm,
that's what we're
That's it.
mm,
missing
That's
here,
it.
because I
yes.
don't know why in 2025, and I'll leave that food stuff alone, that in 2025 that we are holding over people's heads whether or not they're going to get something to eat next month. I mean, that's basically where
Isn't that
we're
terrible? Isn't
that's
that
where we
terrible?
are. And in
That's
2025, what has come to my mind that I can't get rid of is that we're living in a society where rent is so high, the cost of energy is so high that people really, I mean, honestly don't have anything stored in a freezer or anywhere. They really are concerned whether or not it's going to drop on their card tomorrow or the next day or whatever. They're in the panic. I know people who are truly in a panic because they don't know how they're going to exist. I think that is the scary part of what's going on in our world now.
Well,
it's the scary part. I'm a church kid. It's almost demonic, but
It is.
it goes back to a previous show where I think one of us said, we exist in a space where we have billionaires and hungry kids. Those two shouldn't occupy the same space.
Well, we're about to have a trillionaire now. I'm just
And
saying.
how does somebody become a billionaire? It's by exploiting those that have the least. I agree with you totally. Everything we've been talking about, and respect, that's a key point. Respect it is a working condition, because if folks don't feel respected, it doesn't matter how high their pay is, they're going to still feel like they're unseen. A union contract can guarantee benefits, but only we can guarantee a sense of belonging.
Well, go ahead and say it then,
All right.
Dave.
I know it. Mic drop.
All right, Mikeya, let's wrap this one up there.
Right. So this has been our Power Hour radio show. Take this message with you. Respect is the foundation. Solidarity is the house. And let's keep building both together. We're going to move on to our November awareness segment, and we're going to talk about worker wellness. And as we move deeper into the year, everybody has been talking about it. We've all seen the memes. So the days are getting shorter, the nights are getting darker, and it's easy for some of us to feel that seasonal weight pressing in on us. And I want us all to take a few moments to talk about something that often gets overlooked, and that's worker wellness and mental health during this time of year. It's no secret that the winter months can be tough, right? Shorter days, less sunlight, the pressure of the holiday season, it all impacts our moods and our overall mental health. And statistics show that suicide rates and feelings of depression tend to increase during this period. And that's something we need to acknowledge and actively work against. So, what can we do, right, to protect ourselves and each other? First, we have to check on one another. A simple message, a call, or even asking, "Hey, how are you really doing?" can make a huge difference. And please, people, and I'm not bashing anyone, but please, really, if you're gonna reach out to somebody, be intentional and be sincere, because people can feel when you're like, just saying it, just say like, "Oh, how you doing?" and not really care. Like, you say, "How you doing?" and then you start talking to the barista, right? Because you're at the coffee shop. Like, please be intentional with your ask. Um, and don't always wait for somebody to ask for help. If you see somebody struggling, or if you just haven't checked on somebody in a long time, just reach out, because outreach can be life-changing. Second is movement is medicine, right? If it's just a short walk during your lunch break or stretching for a few moments between tasks, staying active helps combat seasonal depression, and it boosts your energy and your focus. Another thing you can do is give yourself permission to step away from the hype, right? The holidays comes with a lot of shoulds and pressures and what you have to do and what you're expected to do or expected to buy or expected to host. And you don't have to fall into that trap of doing things that drain you just to meet an external standard or somebody else's expectations. So you can focus on what makes you feel grounded, connected, and joyful, and just do what you feel like you want to do. And that's it. It's very okay to be selfish. And finally, equip yourself with tools to shake it off. Deep breathing, journaling, listening to music, even sharing a laugh with a coworker can reset your mood. Also, tune into our Power Hour radio show because I'm sure we're going to make you feel really great about yourself because we're so uplifting here. And also find small routines that bring you back to the center and make them non-negotiable, right? Have your non-negotiables. Always remember that your wellness matters. And as we move through the darker months, take time for yourself, check on your colleagues, and don't forget that small acts of care towards yourself and others can create a ripple effect and hope and resilience in your workplace. So, this is me again, Mikeya Jones, reminding you to stay connected, stay active, and don't let the season's darkness dim your light. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listening Live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. And now we're back to normalized systems, hidden chains. And Reginald, take it away.
Oh my. You threw me off there a little bit, my kid. You applying for a new job or something? What's going? Wow. So, oh gosh, I love you, Mikeya. We're diving into a system that many of us take for granted, which is actually healthcare, and how the U.S. model of employer-based coverage has created a two-tiered system that disproportionately harms communities of color. Mikeya is actually leading today's discussion on how systemic racism and class equality are baked into our healthcare access and what labor can actually do about it. We want to know what we can do, Mikeya. Let's hear it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, right? And let's be clear, okay? Healthcare is not just a personal issue, it's a labor issue, it's a civil rights issue, it's a human rights issue. And in the US, over 27 million people were uninsured as of 2023. And the vast majority are, as always, low income or people of color, even those with insurance often, and like even those with insurance, we often face gaps, high deductibles, or denied care, particularly under employer-based plans.
And then when healthcare is tied to your job, that creates pressure to stay in unsafe or underpaid work. Workers of color are disproportionately represented in these jobs, and which compounds inequality. So systemic racism isn't just historical, it's actually built into the very structure of how we access health.
For example, Black Americans are 1.5 times more likely to be uninsured than white Americans and face higher rates of chronic disease. Hispanic communities are also disproportionately uninsured with limited access to preventative care. That systematic inequality, not coincidence.
And the Affordable Care Act, helped expand access, but it didn't eliminate racial and economic disparities. Many low-income workers still could not afford premiums, or they're in states that did not expand Medicaid. So denials for pre-existing conditions and limited covered options had continued, leaving working class families exposed.
I just love David's voice. I feel like he should just read bedtime stories on like an app for kids or something. It's just so soothing and calm. But yeah, employer-based healthcare was originally a wartime benefit, right? Not a human right. And today it links your health security to your income, job stability, and often your race. So jobs held predominantly by people of color, like service, hospitality, or farm work, are less likely to provide coverage or offer plans with low deductibles.
Now, listen to this. This isn't just about premiums. We're talking about denial of care, delayed treatment, limited access to specialists are all more common for marginalized communities than a lot of people think. And it's connected to economic exploitation. If you have to work multiple jobs at $7.25 an hour just to stay insured, you're exhausted, you're stressed and less able to advocate for your rights. And let's not even say what $7.25 an hour is in weekly pay. That's only $290 working at at 40 hours a week. So, and then on top of all of that, you have to deal with um, rent that's $800 a month. Come on. Oh, I digress. Come on, Reginald. I'm sorry.
No, so you've already connected this, but let's actually connect this to labor. When coverage is actually linked to employment, unions actually become a lifeline. Collective bargaining can secure better insurance benefits. Not can, they do secure better insurance benefits, more coverage, and protections for workers. But outside unionized workplaces, the gaps are staggering. I don't know people, but for some people, for some reason, people take it for granted that employers just want to give you good coverage. No,
Mhm.
we actually go in and we actually fight for that. We bargain for that. That is why unions, I mean, that's one of the big pieces of union and more important now than ever.
And these disparities often affect entire communities. Hospitals in low income and predominantly Black or brown neighborhoods are often underfunded, understaffed, and less likely to offer advanced care. This is a clear example of how systematic racism in action hurts people.
Right. So what can we do? Like Reginald said in the beginning, right? Like what can we do? And first, labor must push for health as a human right, not a job perk. That means advocating for universal coverage options, including Medicare for all or public options that decouple care from employment. Secondly, right, we need medical expand in all states and enforcement of ACA protections. We also need stronger labor contracts that include comprehensive, equitable coverage for all workers, regardless of race, gender, or position or age. Community investments, right? In hospitals and clinics serving marginalized populations or rural communities. I live in a very, very small town, and our hospital is often overrun. And I remember like one day I was telling Timmy, like, I didn't want to go to the emergency room because I was going to be there all day. And then she's like, oh no, if you go to this one over here, there's never a wait. And I swear to God, I drove an extra 35 minutes, but I got in like 5 minutes. Another thing that we can do is have mental health and preventative care for every worker, not just those in high income jobs.
Yeah, I agree totally. But also, education is also critical. Workers need to know their rights under the ACA and in Medicaid and in your workplace insurance. They need to be empowered to demand coverage that meets their everyday needs.
And then unions can leverage their collective power to advocate at the state and national level for legislation that expands access and eliminates racial disparities in health outcomes. And this is labor solidarity in action.
Because when we talk about equality, we can't leave health out. All of this together, like with our previous topic, is like death by a thousand cuts. A worker without health care is not free. A freedom is and freedom is central to the labor movement and to civil rights.
Right. So systemic racism in healthcare is real, measurable, and deadly, but it's not immutable, right? With organized labor, collective advocacy, and policies that ensure coverage for all, we can dismantle the system of inequality. Health should never depend on your employer or your zip code. It's a human
Right.
right, and labor must lead the fight for equality.
And fair health care is definitely not charity. I don't care how you what you've been hearing and what you might think. It is not charity. It is actually justice. And when we fight for it, we fight for every worker's dignity and power. Y'all know I'm real big on dignity and respect, but let's throw power in here.
Yeah, and also, make sure you check your coverage, talk to your coworkers, and advocate for policies that protect everyone, especially the vulnerable and the marginalized. That's how we change the system from the ground up.
You're absolutely correct. And know that solidarity matters. Working, standing together can demand better benefits, better care, and fair future for all.
Because equality isn't optional, right? It's essential. Labor, human rights, and healthcare are inseparable. And that's why this fight matters to every single one of us. And before we sign off, I'm going to give you a quick look at what's coming up next week. We're going to explore education access and standardized testing. And we'll discuss how these tests shape who is considered deserving of opportunity and how systemic biases influence outcomes and what role labor and communities can play to reclaim educational equity. But that's next week, so make sure you all tune in because I don't want you all to miss it. And this is Our Power Radio. So stay aware, stay organized, keep fighting for justice for every worker, every family, and every community. And I'm also going to toss in here because somebody said it earlier. Errol, you said it. You said solidarity matters, and workers standing together can demand better benefits, better care, and a fair future for all. And I don't know if we've all been paying attention to the news, but standing together, holding the line is something that we all need to work harder to do. And that is definitely something that we will discuss next week because we have to stand together. We have to hold the line if we want to move ourselves forward. Go ahead, Errol.
All right, you're absolutely correct. And do we want to move into the union dialogue?
Yes,
I
we
want to hear
do.
something about I want to hear something about some busting. Who is that?
And that's
I
why I
want to
was
hear some
asking, do we
union
want to
busting.
get into the union dialogue? We want to hold that one until next week because I know that's going to be kind of
We can hold that
long.
one till next week because you see, I'm not perky today, and I look like what I've been through because I haven't had a cup of coffee, but for good reason. Go ahead, Timmy.
All right.
All
So
right.
this you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nah, I was just saying, all right, Tim, you go ahead with the union buster of the week.
All right. So this week, and this one's breaking news straight from the front lines of the labor movement. Today, November the 13th, unionized baristas across the country are standing up to one of America's biggest corporate bullies, Starbucks. After months of stonewalling and delay, workers have had enough. Across the nation, unionized baristas voted an overwhelming 92% to authorize an unfair labor practice strike against Starbucks. Comes unless Starbucks comes to the table and finalizes fair contracts and stops its ongoing union busting. And this isn't just any day. Starbucks workers are taking a stand on the company's busiest sales day of the year, Red Cup Day, the day that kicks off the holiday marketing season when stores are flooded with customers chasing those collectible cups and festive drinks. Workers are sending a clear message. If we go on strike, don't buy Starbucks. That's right. Allies and community supporters are being asked to take action by skipping Starbucks today and standing in solidarity with the baristas, fighting for fair pay, better hours, and the dignity they deserve. Let's talk about what really happens here. Starbucks has dragged its feet for over a year since workers began unionizing stores under Starbucks Workers United. They've been hit with hundreds, y'all hear me, hundreds of unfair labor practice charges for firing union organizers, closing stores that voted to unionize, and refusing to bargain in good faith. Y'all, they closed stores. I don't think y'all hear me. They closed stores that voted to unionize and refused to bargain in good faith. And
Boo.
now, and now, as the holiday approaches, Starbucks is once again showing its true colors. Y'all can't talk this morning. Instead of investing in the workers who make their billion-dollar profits possible, the company is paying out executive bonuses that boggle the mind. So they're giving out bonuses. CEO Brian Nicole, who took over last year, made $96 million in just 120 days of work in 2024. That's right. Y'all are hearing me correct. 120 days, he made $96 million. Meanwhile, the baristas, the people that are serving the drinks, are just asking for basic things: fair pay that reflects their hard work, predictable hours, and humane scheduling, protections to do their jobs safely and well. And here's the kicker: finalizing those contracts and resolving those unfair labor practice charges would cost Starbucks less than 1 day's worth of sales. Less than 1 day's worth of sales. Let that sink in. Less than 1 day. Yet, instead of doing what's right, Starbucks continues to fight its workers tooth and nail. So today, the message is simple and powerful: no contract, no coffee. And that's why I can't talk today, because I haven't had my coffee. If workers are forced to strike, baristas will walk out in dozens of cities across the U.S. They are not alone. They are backed by the broader labor movement, including none other than the Communication Workers of America and allies in every industry who know that an injury to one is an injury to all. And you don't have to be a member of any of these groups. If you see somebody out on a picket line, you can get out of your car and join too. This is a fight about more than coffee. It's about corporate greed, worker respect, and the power of collective action. If you want to stand in solidarity, go to Instagram and visit at SB Workers United. And again, that's at SB Workers United. There you can sign the contract. No coffee, no contract, no coffee pledge, and find out how to support striking workers in your city. So remember, this Red Cup Day, if baristas strike, do not cross the digital or physical picket line. Don't buy the coffee, don't buy the hype, support the workers. Because at the end of the day, the strength of a movement isn't in the boardroom, it's in the hands of the people brewing the coffee, serving the customers, and daring to demand fairness. It's me, Timmia Wiley, like the coyote, and this is your Union Buster of the Week. Starbucks, it's time to stop union busting and start respecting your workers. No contract, no coffee. This has been your Union Buster of the Week. Back to you, Errol.
That's right. No contract, no coffee. Come on, Reginald.
I just want to remind Timmia and Mikeya that you can still boil water and use instant coffee to get you through this moment.
Ooh, I might have to
You
because I'm
don't have to
struggling
get
over
in your
here.
car. You don't have to get in your car and go through a drive-through and get whipped cream and the mochas and all of that kind of stuff. You can open a jar, get a spoon out, and boil you some water and have instant coffee. It'll get you through. I'm just saying.
I'm
Immediately
struggling.
no is what I'm saying. I'm gonna go to my good kitchen, get my good Keurig, and put my good K cup in that little dispenser. Froth me up something with the little frothy thing that's on the side, and put some oat milk in there, and a little 2 pumps of vanilla, and keep it pushing. Now I ain't gonna go to Starbucks, but I'm a barista me in the kitchen. Now I don't
Y'all
know
done,
how.
see, you
I
gotta
don't
go
even
back to
know
the
nothing.
basics. Y'all done got too fancy. You done got too fancy.
I've never used instant coffee a day in my life. I have no idea what I would do.
I
Oh,
got some in the
man.
back of the cabinet somewhere. I'm probably gonna
I
have to
think
break it out and chip it with a chisel or something.
Reggie still has his percolator, don't you? That you
Because
I
I'm like,
do.
glass at the top.
I do, David. It belonged to my grandmother.
I feel
Let's
like
not
you only
taint
did
his
that on a
nose.
camping trip. I have never seen anybody scoop some coffee and some boiling water before, only on TV.
Really?
I really don't know. Listen, don't cheat. That look, that's that bias, right? That's that
No, no, no.
microaggression.
No,
Was
no,
about to
Really?
say,
That's
I
no,
own
I
it.
Mayweather.
was about to
I own
say,
it. I know I own it. That was instant judgment all over my face.
no. And what I was about to say was when I did the training classes at our local, I brewed the coffee in a percolator
It's
for
time
our
for the
members.
percolator. That's all I know. Gotta percolate. That's
All right. As we come down to the final minutes of the show, our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, they have a victory. And that is why we
Woo!
must continue to fight. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Hour Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in promoting human rights to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you're not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, right here on KYOK 1140 a.m. and the all-new 106.5 FM, KYOKradio.org. See you next week.